I have your full name?
Edward James Lyons.
In your hometown?
North Fork.
What was your rank and branch in your
I was an enlisted air crewman.
Okay, and what unit did you serve in?
Say it again?
What unit did you serve in?
I served in many units in 30 years, but if you're interested in World War II, I was with a dive bomber squadron,
Okay,
which will remain unnamed because I can't remember what it was. I want to tell you, I can't compete with the gentleman that was still up here because I'm a lot younger. I'll be 83 next week. My main point that you would be interested in is that I was allowed to join the service when I was 16. That was just before the war reverted to Japan. The war in Europe had been won, and they needed troops to go ashore in Japan, and they needed young people. So we were allowed to come in at 16 with my mother's signature, God bless her, and the provision that we would not actually go into combat until we were 17. They were fast. With that one, I was trained as an aerial gunner. I was sent in to take part in the invasion of Japan. Then in August, while we waited, President Truman authorized the use of the atomic bomb. And we all got off the hook. Well, we didn't realize the relief we would feel years later, but we did not have to go ashore. They had estimated at that time that the casualty risk for Americans would be 500,000. So what that part of the water did for me is that I got out of being one of those 500,000 people. We went ashore then after a lot of people don't know this, and it might be a good historical point for you. They think the war ended in August of 1945, 2 weeks after the dropping of the bomb. It did not. The actual official ending of World War II was December 31st, 1946. During that time between when we proposed to invade Japan and the actual time that I left it, I did duty with the Army of Occupation of Japan, where we went ashore and tried to fix up the airport facilities to handle American aircraft that comes in, and then generally spend the rest of our time convincing the Japanese that we were not going to eat them, which is what we did. Subsequent to that, we were rounded up and sent to Europe, where I took part in the Berlin airlift, not a part of World War II. So by that time, I was an old man of 17. And my point in coming to you before you tonight is to remind you that there may come a day when you're doing exactly what I'm doing now, trying to tell your children why you're here.
Could you tell me a life-changing experience that you got out of the war?
I survived it. I learned everything in the military. I was 16 when I went in. I knew much less at 16 than you do now because we didn't have what you had now. Barely had radios. I learned to be a survivor. I learned to eat what was put in front of me and don't complain and don't call another guy a name you can't back up. I learned all the things that I did not learn in high school because I didn't get to go to high school. And I learned a deep, abiding love for my country. And I learned never to volunteer for anything. And when you hear, and that when we heard gunfire, to keep my head down, which I did very well. So I'm here. I can't compare with these older guys that were just here. I was not a ground, I was a flyer. I flew, I was planning on meeting my end. But I think probably the thing that stuck with me most is we all the kids, when I was your age at that time, were based on the philosophy that we live fast, die young, and make a good-looking corpse. Sounds funny now, but it didn't then. Everything we did was with the expectation that we weren't coming back tomorrow. So we got a little wild at times. I learned to drink beer, lots of beer. I learned to do things that they didn't teach me in high school. But most of all, I learned how to survive a very nasty situation and proved that, once again, that an American teenager is the most adaptable person in the world. That's what I got out of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.